So the COVID era is now coming to a close. People are being vaccinated and cases are down. Places are reopening. What did you think you were going to do when it ended? I didn't know what I wanted to do. There's things I want to do around here, but I really want to get out. I want to get out and see the places that I love in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Virginia, the small towns, the people, the places that we've all had to put on hold for the last year while we stuck out the lockdown. And, this is a celebration of getting out, and it's also, a tribute to those who didn't make it. It's been a tough year with the election and the virus, so let's go sail. In this episode of Sailing Carolina, we'll be starting in Sneads Ferry, North Carolina, not too far from where I live and where the boat is kept. Sneads Ferry is a tiny little backwater behind Topsail Island and the New River Inlet. We'll feature Sneads Ferry in Jacksonville a little later, but for now, we've got to make tracks for a bottom job appointment in Oriental. So we're going to head up the ICW, past Swansboro, another cool town we'll feature if we survive this channel that long, up to Bogue Sound, across the sound to a town called Beaufort, which a lot of people are familiar with, a deep water inlet, very cool place. Also, another place we'll feature if we survive. Across, by survive, I mean like if the channel's watched by anybody. We'll end up ultimately in Oriental, where we'll get the bottom job and see the town. All right, I didn't even get very far before my first camera mistake. I tried to time-lapse myself loading the boat, and for some reason the camera turned off, so this is just a replay of the same clip. I loaded it. I didn't film myself pulling out of the marina. It was a little hectic doing it this late at night. I was the only one there. Pretty close to some other boats, and there was a little bit of a breeze, so I didn't get a chance to film that. I'm anchored out just north of the ICW at the mouth of the marina, out of the channel, and I'll stay here until tomorrow and start my trip. I like my Italian coffee, I'm not going to lie, but here I am screwing up the time lapse again. I'm going to figure this out sooner or later. The trifecta of flavor. I forgot my coffee cup, my mug, which is going to be a bummer because the only thing I have to drink out of is these little drink tumblers. They're Yetis and they're insulated, but they're really small. Only thing bad about today is I didn't bring my mug. Coffee out of a tumbler. Savage. All right, guys. The big question. Did I put this on a plate just for you all? Yes, I did. Beautiful day today, but there's too much wind and tide for me to pull in the anchor right now. Well, really just waiting on the wind to die now. Still kicking at about 11 knots. Obviously a little too much for me to pull the anchor up. 10,000 pound boat. 14 knots of wind. 3.5, 4 knots of current. No. Can't do it. Cannot do it. I could work a little late tonight, flex time, and then try to get a really early start. Assuming that the wind's going to die down tonight. Predict wind says it's going to. The NAM model says it will. And then try to break out of here early in the morning and get as far as I can before the wind really starts to kick up, which will be tomorrow at about 3 o'clock, according to NAM again. Which was wrong now. Might be wrong then. Waiting, waiting, we're always waiting on sailboats. Sailboats are about waiting for stuff. Oh, here comes the Marine Corps about to fly over us. They're not waiting on anything. Are you kidding me? They are the kings of waiting. Hurry up and wait. That bird comes over here, I'll try to catch it on the camera. Is he coming? Oh, he's turning. Let's flip this camera around. Let's see if we can. Oh, he's dropping stuff. You can anchor out here all day and watch this if you're so inclined. It's like being in an air show. You know what? I cracked the code on doing push-ups on here. Your legs have to straddle the stairs. If your feet straddle, you've got enough. I've got enough room to lay down prone and do the push-up. Straddle. If you straddle, it's a battle to straddle. Come on, wind. Slow down. Whoever said no sailor ever. All right, we made it out of the toilet bowl. This part's not going to be super exciting. It's kind of loud, windy, and boring. Well, sometimes when you're on the ICW, there's work going on. And dredging is a big part of what they're doing out here. And I think you can see this dredge right there. And I tried to divert around him just a little bit to make that green marker, that green lit. You can just make out the red buoy behind him that he's put out. And I'm stuck in 3.5 feet of water, and I draft 3.9. And we're actually pretty solidly on the sandbank here. But you know, I was approaching this guy. He said, "Pass me on your starboard side." So I was over here, and then he says, "No, you're going the wrong way. Pass me on your starboard side. Get on the other side of me," which is my port side. That's the port side. And that's when I ran out of the channel a little bit, and boom. Hence why they're dredging. So we are going to sit here. We've got about 3 hours till we get a full high tide. Shouldn't take that long to get me off. Once I get to about 3.7, 3.8, I might be able to rock it. It's really not moving right now, so. This is sailing. So much fun. I'm gonna pop a beer, have something to eat, and wait until this is done. Can't beat this view. Fantastic sunset earlier. Just beautiful out here. Even if I am stuck smelling diesel, listening to stinky dredge. .6. Oh my God, so close. So close. Well, I'm back in the whirlpool for the night. Why? Because failure. Going up the New River to get to the ICW, there's some dredging going on, and you know, I'm going to do a little deep dive right now, a little after action, to see exactly what I did wrong and what I probably could have done to get around that dredge and not get stuck. It was the first time I've encountered a dredge at night. I think there was a few miscues on my behalf, as well as just the channel's tight and it's super shallow there. And I finally got off after rocking the boat. I kedged myself off at least 3 times getting back into the channel, and it's almost super high tide right now. Wasn't going to give it another go. If I get stuck after the high tide, I'm there all night, all morning, until I do have Towboat USA, but Man, embarrassing. I would have done it if I couldn't have catched off, but I knew the tide was still had a little bit to come up, so pushed it off. And I had done this after action report that I'm going to spare everybody listening to because I was wrong. The guy told me to pass on his starboard side. Clearly, the chart and the can don't line up. If I go back and look at the video afterwards, I can see the can far off to my port side. And as I approached him, it was probably still not off to my starboard side. And just going further to my port side made it even worse. The chart and the physical location of the can, they don't line up. And the dredge just got in my head a little bit. So, lesson learned. What's on the menu tonight? The Low and Hazy IPA from the Appalachian Mountain Brewery again. Yep. Listen, tonight, obviously, a little disappointing. Not that big of a setback. If it was the only thing, you know, there was a but coming. But the tides are late at night now, high tides, and getting later. And the flood is getting less, so it's not as much water coming in on each tide until the next new moon. With the dredging, that means that I'm going to be transiting again back to the dredge spot at night, only later with less flood tide to get off if I get stuck. It doesn't look too good for getting out of the new river. It's a trip I've made a few times and never had a problem, but this sucks. If it was in the daytime, I'd be more willing to try it. I could always, call Towboat USA if I just can't get through there. But I don't want to be stuck there overnight, especially when we have weather coming in. So I'm going to have to think about a plan B. Plan B. Oh, that's good. That's good beer, guys. Oh, yeah. Appalachian Mountain Brewery. I'm going to take a trip there. With a U-Haul truck. Another IPA, too. What the hell? Yeah, so the tide's getting later. Less water coming in. Dredge ain't going anywhere. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to dredge this out, but man, they have got some serious work to do. That must have just been from all winter long, the weather that we had, the storms, the fronts that come in and cause that, because that's ridiculous. Well, I feel like once I get on the ICW, or if I could get out onto the open water, everything's going to be fine. I mean, there might be some shoaling in the there might be some shoaling. Next morning, got the anchor up, got the jib out. Time to move to the new anchorage, anticipating a little bit of wind. So the wind is blowing directly behind me in the direction the boat's pointing. Kind of coming off of this, around this corner too sometimes. It's supposed to shift over to here as the front rolls in. So I should be seeing wind coming from here. Won't be too dramatically different than it's been today, just stronger, and hopefully I've got some good protection from any fetch, so I won't be seeing too much chop, I don't think, other than what the wind just creates right here. Lovely. Weather came in as expected. Going to be a little bit of a rough afternoon here while I sit this out. and should end sometime, I think, tomorrow morning. Ooh. The cold front really dropped the temperature. It's probably 35 degrees right now, and the wind is howling. It's going to be in the 50s, and the wind is going to stay 15, gusting to 30 until late tonight. It's calmed down just a little bit now, but there's been some monster gusts coming through here. Luckily, last night I moved to this anchorage point from another spot that I was at. I didn't film it because it was a last minute decision and it was late at night, dark, but it was a good decision because I would have absolutely been hammered sitting in there today. So we're pretty close to the land, but close as I could get to try to eliminate all the fetch that I was going to face with the northerlies. Just sitting it out. Next episode of Sailing Carolina will make the last winter sail of the year. We will conquer the dredge. And we'll be staying in some pretty nice neighborhoods as we anchor out on our way to the place known as... They call this the sailing capital of North Carolina, and it's clear to see why. All you see is masts. Please like and subscribe. Hey, can't get any worse.